Good morning, Charles.
Good morning. Whoa. I feel like a radio announcer.
You sound like one. That was some great music, by the way.
You have a great team.
Yeah, yeah.
And virtually, I've never been with a more great team in my life. I mean, of people to work with, not just great musicians, but people, all of them.
Yeah.
And of course, unity was the key to me expanding my own skills and my own working with others, because I was always a solo. Just about, from the 60s, whenever I was playing in churches, I had a small group, and we just did a 1, 2, 3, 4, and we just let it rip. It was all in spirit. So that's the way I learned, and then of course I went along and finally decided the Catholic Church wasn't my cup of tea anymore, and then I found Yogananda and became a student for 4 years. And decided Kriya was a little bit too difficult for me, so I'd have to invite my own Kriya into my life. Kriya Yoga, if you've heard of it, is very, very demanding. Requires a lot of discipline, which is great. I just couldn't see myself in the role, so I was searching and found the Long Beach Unity. I was told about it. And I was thinking, well, I'm just kind of over religion. And then somebody said, well, this is not a religion. So I was sitting at home, and all of a sudden I just thought, I've got to go. And I went down there and caught Christy at the talk. And I sat in the back, and I just, as y'all know, I can cry easy. And I knew that I was at home. I knew I had found what I was looking for. Not only for the messages and the openness, but the people I needed to know, I needed to meet. So then, of course, that broke down, and I found myself talking to Dennis, and he said, well, you could come over with us over in Gulfport. And I said, oh, I just had that situation, and I was finally burned. So Dennis asked again, well, we could really use you over there. And I was impressed, that Dennis, he was very respectful, but he kept at me. God bless him forever. And I came here. Started over there in the old bar. Adam's Bar, by the way, is where she does her talks over there. It was our old sanctuary. I found out historically it was called Adam's Bar, which I love because when we do music night, it's like, what had used to happen here, And then I've met people that said, yeah, I used to go there. I was like, well, I never knew about it, but.
So you grew up in Gulfport, although your father had been in the service.
Yes, of course, that was through to Kiesler. Have a little aside to that to bring up to this. How my father met my mother, I have to share this real quick. He had heard about this, it was a motorcycle club. But he didn't have a motorcycle, so he sold his car and got a motorcycle. A 1948 Indian Panhead. And
1948?
1948, I know it's old. No, it's not that old. But he joined the motorcycle club just to meet my mother because he had heard about her. And the rest was great for me, history. After that, they got married, and my dad was in the Air Force, and they called him to Freising, Germany, to do his solo work, as he's gone all over the world and done one-man jobs. He did electronics. So he always had a penchant for it, building the old germanium radios with the long 20-foot antenna, listening to late night. And so the reason I bring all this up is he and my mother were my background for my life. We had a very democratic home, and I was able to be free to grow as an individual. And it was really the beginning of my spiritual development, because the family is the home of what we become.
And you went to college here in Mississippi and on the coast for a couple of years, then you transferred to Loyola, is that right?
Yes, I went to Jeff Davis for 3 years, and the reason I did, before my first year was calamitous. I was into marine biology without having any high school chemistry. Not good.
Wow.
So I even tried getting in touch with my old teacher at St. John's. She was my teacher, but she said, I'll help you. When I finished it, I failed it, but if I had started it again, I could have passed it, probably with flying colors from my training. But I thought, no, I don't want to. So I went to the counselor. He said, I've got this idea for you. And he pulled out this little bitty brochure, not even that wide. And he said, it's music therapy. He said, you like psychology, you like music, you like sociology. He said, this will work for you. So I took 2 years at Jeff Davis, to come up from a 1.1 to a 1.98. Y'all don't know how far that is. That's a long way from 1.1. Went to Loyola on probation, and they said, we see what happened. Fear not. And ended up with a 2.86 from Loyola. And so I was there for another 2.5 years after 3 years over here. At which point my first job was at the retardation center here in Long Beach.
The regional what? Say that again.
Well, we used to call it the South Mississippi Retardation Center. Now it's called the Regional Center.
Okay.
One of the greatest jobs I could have ever had, working with these kids. They opened me up to love, to creativity, and blew the top off of any expectation I could have possibly had. Because, we tend to, I didn't know anything about them at the time. And so the more I was with them, the more I could feel their spirit, feel their willingness to do, to express. So one of the clients' parents said that they would finance us getting a set of $3,000 Korean handbells. They said, you're gonna help pay for it, and we're gonna help you. So they got me on TV, WLOX, and they got me out in the community, and we paid off this wonderful loan. Well, we were also traveling to play. I have worked up a thing with the Kodai hand signals. I don't know if y'all are familiar with those, these and these, and, all these things, and assigned each one of them a different one. And so I could play them like a piano. And look, y'all, this is what it took to do this. They had white gloves, and they would play one, and they wouldn't stop until the next person played. So they had to be very rhythmical. They had to be very sensitive. Well, the next step was I'd do this, and the C, the E, and the G would have to play just their right hands. And then they would also hold them for a certain duration. So what they taught me, y'all, there was no limit. The sky was the limit for these wonderful, wonderful people that taught me the unlimited mind and spirit, and what can be done when you love them enough to be honest with them, open, and also to allow their own thoughts and creativity. Because I always ask them, well, what do you think? Give me your feedback. And it was, like I said, they gave me everything I needed to go through the rest of my life with.
How many years did you work as a music therapist with Memorial? The
Oh,
Memorial
37
system?
years.
37 years. That's quite a career. And you retired, what, about 5 years ago? Or has it?
2016, April 2nd. at no.
To be exact. What did you love most about the work you did there?
Everything, except for the pay. Music therapists, we're more known like the fun people, which we are. But and I also did therapeutic recreation, but and I was based on psych, as you can imagine. You know, it's where we thrive to work. But because I was in a medical facility, the doctors found out that I was there because I was everywhere eventually, and I would get referrals. I had a lot of openness to go to like the cancer unit to talk to whoever. It could be a housekeeper, it could be a nurse, it could have been whoever, and to try to get a feeling for who I should go see. And it was great because I could just go into the room, introduce myself. That was cute. and introduce myself and talk to them about what I do. I said, I play music. I'll play some great songs that you like. And I learned, without trying to learn, that the technique that I would use would be, let's say I would sit by your bed, and I'd say, let me play some music. So I'd do that. And so then while they were speaking, I would just listen. Because therapists get off easy. We just ask a question and sit back and let them answer it. But one of the things I would do was my hands, they didn't want to just sit there. So they would just play some relaxation kind of a sound. And then I could pause that and respond. And to shepherd people through the last part of their life was the greatest honor.
Yeah, that's what I wondered. So you didn't only work with youth, you worked with adults as well.
Oh yes, inpatient, outpatient, adult, gero. I was out and about all over the place. And we used to have them from Bay St. Louis to Gulfport, the outpatient facilities. But psych was my basic, and I was also a tech. So I did tech stuff as well, which was really nice to change hats and get around the hospital. I was also called to the morgue. Why would I be called to the morgue? You're a music therapist. I would volunteer for this stuff. I'd hear about it. I'd say, well, I'll do that, because I was a tech, like I say, so, as well. And, well, simply spoken, people who are not here consciously anymore, they're very heavy. And so it would take like 6 of us to lift a person to put them into the freezer. Now, y'all are thinking, what's he telling us this for? Well, when I was there, I could honor them. I could think of them, whether they were good, bad, or whatever. I didn't care. I mean, it was just like I could serve them in another way, even though I never knew them. And also to celebrate joy, no matter if they were good, bad, like I say, but they were now released and able to see again. And so that did a lot for my life to get called to serve in different ways.
Do you find that playing music alone, say at home, is meditative and find yourself in another world as you're doing this, playing your music?
I think all of us have to do that. To do what we do, one of my faux pas was, especially, it's always been one, but it got worse after my event, is not being able to focus. You can ask my cohorts, but don't ask them. I came back with this preoccupation, and it's always been a problem, but it got worse. Because if I don't memorize stuff. I gave that up a long time ago. I have to have the music, I've got everything from, and I can't look up. I've got to look down, stay there until it's over. When I do that, I do pretty darn well. When I don't, I don't. Because it takes that 110% of myself to be able to be satisfied with what I am trying to do. I'm doing it for me, I'm doing it for y'all, I'm doing it for us, because we're here for spiritual purpose. And every bit, every word, every chord, every feel, I want it all to serve that one purpose here. And it's fun. We do some pre-service stuff, and it's great. It's great to be able to mix and match and do contemporary Christian, whatever we find. Sherry finds something, I've found something, Sherry finds some more. And Dan tells us stuff sometimes, and we people just in our congregation here will give me, hey, what about this song, or what about that song? And because it's people want to have fun, and they want to hear things that are relevant to them. And so it's an honor if I can play something to your satisfaction that you would like to hear as well. And so I'm doing it for all those purposes, to serve Spirit, to serve us as just human beings, trying to make sense of all this and to stay with it.
Many of us were here last year. Was it May 24th?
May 24th, yes.
May 24th, 2023, when early in the service, Charles had an atrial...
aneurysm.
Aneurysm.
Yeah.
That's serious business. A lot of people don't survive it. Right here on the stage. And due to the fast thinking of Sherry and getting the emergency technicians in here quickly, we believe that it may have even saved your life. What did that change you any? Oh boy, then they even had to airlift you up to Birmingham and then let you rest for a few days before they could even do the surgery, right? They took me to Memorial first, and they did. I even have a picture of me sitting up, and they've got all these drips and stuff behind me, which I don't remember any of. And then they couldn't do it at Memorial, so right.
They flew me up to University of Alabama in Birmingham. Mm-hmm. So I remember three things. I remember getting out to this parking lot, one blink, like you open your eyes, close it. One blink going into the ER at Memorial. One blink on the plane that they were flying me to UAB in. And then, I don't remember beyond that. I think because they flew me up there, I'm sure my surgery was probably done immediately. So I wouldn't bleed out or it wouldn't happen. So next thing I knew, I was awake with all this stuff hanging on me, these, and you can't get out of the bed. You got to, hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life, because I'm not so finally I decided, the heck with it, I'll stand next to the bed, I'm getting up. And, but it was as debilitating as much for my mind as it was for my body. When you're young, it's easy. When you haven't had anything happen to you, it's a piece of cake, right? You just blowing and going, having a great time. Good, you need to. I mean, it's a good thing. With this, it kind of poked a big hole in me, in my expectations of, am I going to be able to play golf one day, which I still haven't? Am I going to be able to do all the things that I like to do? Well, they said, sure, you'll be able to. So I went through the rehab, and I was doing all the things I needed to. We were going out for walks. I was doing my kitchen exercises and all this stuff they told me to do. And I started going back to the gym until I had a hernia. And it was the worst one. It was an inguinal, right in the crotch. You know, so, I mean, you put a lot of pressure on that part of your body all the time, right? And of course, I tried to push something with my foot and set myself back an additional 6 weeks. Always listen to what they say. I figured I didn't pick anything up right. Okay, no, not a good excuse. So anyway, I got through that, and then I got vertigo. Well, at least we're getting lesser and lesser, right, in terms of, but it's the setbacks that take your confidence away. You're starting to think, well, I hate to say it, what next? And you got to resist that, because that's really uncomfortable. So I had to make a choice. Well, in the meantime, I had to be honest with myself about the mental changes, which ranged from depression to preoccupation to confusion. Yeah, it's hard, especially when you've been in psych for so long and you think, well, God, I should know how to deal with this. And you do, but your confidence level has dropped. And so that's, you got all these balls you got to start keeping in the air to work on. But my people here, y'all's prayers were one of the most incredible experiences of my life. Facebook and knowing that y'all, and being able to see y'all on Sunday really kept me going, because I felt like I was, and being mentioned by Judy to let me know that I'm still alive. I'm still a part of. And that really helped me to realize, yeah, you just need to get better. You need to keep your mind on these things, let the process happen, and move your feet as soon as you can. Well, I haven't quite got back to that, but I'm about ready to do it now. The vertigo is almost totally gone, and I'm about ready to take a deep breath.
So the affirmations that we say and each week, and we really put them into practice. Did you find during your healing process that they were helpful?
Oh, yes. You've got to have tools like that in your bag. Mm-hmm. And so I was remembering the ones I've learned from you, and some of these are in our little weekly bulletins, mm-hmm. That you can, and my wife Andrea, she expects those every Sunday. And she watches every Sunday. She really enjoys it. But everything that we learned in here is what we really need when times get tough.
It is. I have faith that God is my instant, constant, and abundant supply. And anytime we get into a low spot or a time when, just like you, we're tempted to say, what next? What next? And instead, remind ourselves, God is my instant, constant, and abundant supply. And it will just keep those thoughts positive, and it will pull you out of that, won't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it will. And of course, I've been studying, so some of the other things would come up as well. And what we do at the end of the service, when we hold our hands up and pray. Mm-hmm. I could do it with y'all when I was at home. Oh. And y'all, I tell you what, if you ever need it, if you ever can't come, turn on your computer and tune in, because it really makes a huge difference. Because where we think there we are, And it's something just to realize that your thoughts are prayers. Your thoughts are the most powerful energy in the universe. And I've known that for decades, that the finest particle of mental energy can move mountains, as it's been put. And so you have to believe, you got to maintain your faith through the whole experience of being knocked down in the dirt. And dust yourself off, straighten your shirt, stand up straight, look up, hold your arms out, and receive. And it's sometimes you're trudging. It's hard to even get yourself. Okay, pick yourself up and get yourself going. Sounds good. And because I've been here, most of all, with y'all, I can do it. I know I can do it. We are different than any other spiritual group I've ever been with, because of our belief in the power of prayer and to maintain it.
I just wanted to say, too, that I believe your parents must have been extraordinary people. I didn't get to meet them. I did meet your brother. By the way, he has a little brother that's 3 or 4 inches taller than him. I must say, oh, he's pretty tall. How tall is your brother?
6'5".
6'5".
Yeah. I still look up to him.
Yeah, yeah. We were so surprised, those of us that went to Charles, or officiated at Charles's dad's memorial service, and when his little brother walked in, I said, "That's your little brother?" He works at the port. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you worked at the port while you were supporting yourself going to college, right?
Yeah, back in the day when I was around high school, I worked down the port as they call us to rabbit. I was non-union, so we would go in and take all the boxes, banana boxes, off of these, put them on these belts, and then they always put the rabbits to dig the hole, which means when they open up the next part of the ship and you see nothing but boxes, you dig the hole. So you have to go down, and then you go down, and then you go down, and you go down, and then you go down. And then they say, okay, you're deep left, and we'll come down now, and 40-pound boxes. So, and then you go over to the west side and fill it back up with pallets of plastic and paper. Can I just insert one thing here? This was a divine moment for me. They bring these 2-ton rolls of paper down on these pressure locks. You know, it helps, and they put them down, and then they come and release them and swivel them on pivots and move them. So they always say, but when they come down, everybody gets off to the side. Of course. Well, this one, never know why, I'm up underneath the side, right next to a post, and it goes out, and it comes back, and it corners me between the paper behind me and this. Yes, it's a nice big post, thank goodness. And everybody ran up to me like, "You okay?" Yeah, thank goodness, because it would have smushed me into a pile. And but it wasn't because I was careless. Well, we get over to the west side, and we're refilling the ship. And one of these pallets were, from here to the back of the church there. And it kind of did this, and it was like, because of my experience, I stepped back and there was no paper. So, so they came over, you okay? I think so, yeah, and I was. But it's one of these things, y'all, that I was getting paid $15 an hour, so hey, what the heck. Back in the day, that was really good money.
Well, and they may have automated that process a little more by now.
Yeah,
maybe.
They eliminated a lot of jobs, unfortunately, by doing that.
But that's true. They have. One thing that I wanted to ask you about your recovery from the heart procedure. I know that you have always been an advocate for deep breath, and I know that I take that, I have taken that advice too, and anytime I feel myself feeling a little bit restricted, I remind myself, breathe, and breathe deeply, and breathe deeply. Did you find yourself, as you were recovering, that was helpful?
Oh gosh, yeah, and even to this day, anytime you increase the breath, even if it's not even over the top, you know, like your 120s or, I mean for blood, you're going to get a boost out of it. Like I blew off my roof yesterday, and it's a hip roof, and I got up to a whopping 82 on my pulse. Well, I felt like $1,000,000 yesterday because I had done something and accomplished something, and that when I go to the gym, that's what I get. Well, I'm about to re-enter on that, but for a while I couldn't even go to the gym because I couldn't stay on the treadmill because of my hip. I had a lot of, I don't know if it was exactly, probably arthritis, but inactivity is the worst thing for your body. Whatever conditions you have will set up and get worse. And of course my heart needs that too. And so at first when you have something like an aneurysm, you think, well, can I do too much? You know, you don't want to do too much, it will affect you. And no, they said no, it doesn't. You just do as long as you're reasonable. You don't want to overdo either. So.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we close?
Just briefly, I grew up here in Gulfport, over on Allendale Avenue, which was over by Hardy and Rich. I don't know if you're familiar with Gulfport, old neighborhood over there. And we had a lot of pine trees, which my dad took down probably about 10. We had so many just in our backyard. And the nice thing about those, I grew up loving pine trees for this reason. I didn't like the sap, who does? But when you're in a large grove of pine trees and you hear the wind, you can hear where it's coming from. And you think, okay, it's coming from there, and then it's getting louder, and then it's getting louder. And you start looking up, and you'll see the lean, and you'll see the lean, and then it'll go, and then everything stops. And I learned early what that is the great string section of the Universal Orchestra. And even as a kid, it was like, yeah, that's music to my ears. And so it made me even more attuned to wanting to experience the woods and nature. My second experience, I was up at Fruitland Park in the Boy Scouts. And I was walking around one night. They had nice big trails and stuff. And I could hear the boys out through the park there. Oh, sorry. It was summer camp. We stayed up there for a week. Excuse me. I can hear my wife now telling me, tell them what you're coming from. And I was walking around at night, which I love to do by myself, and I could see the fires burning through the trees. And I stopped, and I looked up, and I realized that was the great cathedral of God. And it was one of the most magnificent experiences of my life, was to realize that. So for me to know that God is, in fact, the universe is real natural for me, because I always suspected as a kid